Hey everyone. Welcome to the Six Path Weeb channel. Today's fanfiction deep dive explores an intriguing twist on the Naruto universe. What if Naruko had been a silent genius? Before we dive in, a quick disclaimer. This content is purely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not own any of the anime footage featured in this video. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Alright, let's jump in and explore this alternate reality together. Hey Naruko, is that book you're reading more interesting than my lecture? Everyone, except the girl in question, stiffens and gulps at the tone their sensei is using. Several recognizable students like Haruno Sakura, Yamanaka Ino, Inuzuka Kiba, and Akimichi Kuji show visible discomfort, sensing the serious mood radiating from their Chunin instructor. It's not uncommon for Umino Iruka to be firm with his students, especially with Naruko, but this time, the smile on his face somehow makes him even more intimidating than usual. To put it simply, he is not pleased. Naruko merely raises an eyebrow in response, offering no verbal reply. Her classmates cringe when she casually turns a page in her book, clearly feeling the tension in the room build due to her calm, unconcerned demeanor. This quiet girl is Uzumaki Naruko. She's an orphan and a reserved individual who tends to keep to herself. Rather than engaging in social interaction, she prefers reading. Interestingly enough, she's also incredibly gifted in academics. Today, she's wearing a bright orange t-shirt with a black flame design across the front and a pair of maroon shorts held up with a simple black belt. A common wristwatch sits on her left wrist. Her appearance is striking: blonde, spiky hair, bright blue eyes, and 3 unique whisker-like marks on each cheek. She also wears glasses, adding to her thoughtful and introspective look. Despite her quiet nature, she has a unique reputation: the smartest enigma. She consistently ranks at the top of her class and yet shows little concern for the attention or praise this might bring. Some mistakenly assume her quietness as aloofness, but in reality, she's deeply observant and insightful. She always completes her work without complaint, and while she generally follows instructions, she isn't afraid to question things when there's a logical reason to do so. Her ability to back her words with sound reasoning has earned her both admiration and frustration from teachers and classmates alike. Her presence is a fascinating contradiction, much like the nickname she's earned. Naruko. Iruka's voice draws out each syllable, making students shrink into their seats. His smiling lips twitch ever so slightly, like he's restraining himself. I asked you a question. The crisp sound of another page turning echoes across the classroom. I hear you, sensei. Her voice, soft and rarely heard, captures the attention of everyone. It's so rare for Naruko to speak in class that hearing her respond at all feels like witnessing something extraordinary. With practiced ease, she shuts her book with one hand, takes off her glasses with the other, and places both gently on her desk. She then retrieves a cloth from her pocket and calmly wipes the lenses clean, her eyes closed as she works, composed even in the face of a clearly irritated teacher. Once finished, she puts her glasses back on and looks up. I just don't think it would be wise for me to answer right now. Inuzuka Kiba instinctively dives under his desk, as though anticipating something dramatic. A silent pause follows, filled only with the faint echo of Iruka's restraint slipping away. He crosses his arms and raises an eyebrow. Oh really? And why would that be, Naruko? He asks with a calm, slightly strained tone. Do explain, from a student to a teacher. Kuji leans back anxiously in his chair while Ino quietly gulps. Naruko simply adjusts her glasses again, unbothered. Well, she begins in an even tone, it's clear that you assumed I wasn't paying attention to your lecture. You mean you weren't? Is what nearly every student still alert is thinking. But the truth is, I was listening closely the entire time, sensei. Iruka narrows his eyes, his expression now serious. Oh really? Then I suppose you won't mind if I ask you a few questions from earlier, just to confirm how well you were listening? Not at all, Naruko replies calmly. She leans back slightly, ready for the challenge. Alright then, Iruka begins without hesitation. When dealing with diplomatic relations in a foreign ninja village, what factors should be taken into consideration? Naruko's expression remains calm and composed. There are 3 things to consider. First, the political structure of the village. When interacting with a foreign shinobi village, it's important to understand how their leadership operates. For example, Konoha follows a structured system where the Hokage's word is final. While the Hokage may consult advisors, the decisions ultimately lie with them. Second is the village's economy. If a village generates significant income through its shinobi forces, it likely relies heavily on its military capabilities. But it's also possible for a village to thrive through trade, services, and the work of civilians. Konoha, for instance, is strong in both areas, resulting in a stable and healthy economy. And finally, Naruko closes her eyes briefly. The well-being of the villagers. When morale is high, it reflects positively on the leadership. But if it's low, it may indicate dissatisfaction and a need to reassess governance and community engagement. Silence falls over the classroom. Iruka lets out a quiet sigh, both impressed and slightly exasperated. Good work, Naruko. Just try not to sneak in reading time during my lectures again, alright? Alright? No promises. Iruka responds by gently tossing a piece of chalk at her forehead. Then comes the final recess of the day. Was it worth it? Even with a slightly sore forehead, Naruko remains tranquil. The blonde-haired, glasses-wearing girl slowly lifts her gaze from the book she's reading beneath her usual tree. To be honest? No, she replies flatly. But I did finish the chapter I was on, so I'd say yes, it was. Uchiha Sayuri sighs. She's more concerned about her friend's future than the small bump on her forehead. Sayuri observes Naruko quietly, her expression unreadable. She is slightly shorter than Naruko, with academic scores just beneath hers, and her practical skills on par. She wears a sleeveless black blouse with a navy collar and white trim, a white tie, and a black pleated skirt. Her long dark hair glistens like silk under the afternoon sun. Her features are smooth and pale, with a beauty mark under her left eye. Sayuri doesn't often smile, except when she's around Naruko. She settles beside her friend and watches their classmates practicing with kunai and shuriken on training dummies. She's already taken her turn, and so has Naruko. They both scored perfect marks. The sky above begins to glow a warm orange, signaling the school day's end, but for now, they relax. Hey, Naruko? Who would you want as teammates after we graduate? You and Shikamaru. Sayuri raises an eyebrow at the quick answer. That fast? Why? We'd complement each other well, Naruko answers thoughtfully. You've got the physical edge, Shikamaru has strategy, and I'm good at problem solving. Together, we'd make a complete team. She sighs. Though the chances are low, especially the part where Shikamaru is on our team. Why's that? Sayuri asks, even though she suspects the answer. You already know, but you're asking anyway. Sayuri blushes faintly. Shut up. Naruko rolls her eyes and goes back to her book. But fine. It's mostly because of tradition. Shikamaru is likely to be paired with Ino and Kuji. Their families have a long history of working together, and their teamwork is very efficient. I see. While you and I can get along quietly, Shikamaru would need to adjust to our dynamic. That could be tricky. So you're saying we're better off as a duo? That's one way to put it. Sayuri smiles and rests her head gently on Naruko's shoulder. Naruko doesn't flinch or pull away. She enjoys the quiet closeness. The weather's a bit chilly, and she's only wearing a t-shirt, having forgotten her jacket. Sayuri's presence adds a welcome warmth. Don't ever change, Naruko. Sayuri whispers. I don't plan to. That's a relief, Sayuri thinks. Because if she ever did change, the Naruko she cherishes might disappear. Welcome. Oh, if it isn't Naruko-chan. Not with Sayuri today? Naruko sits down at the small ramen stand. She's training early today. Didn't say why. Tucci, the cheerful chef, grins. That's rare. You two are always together, like two peas in a pod. She ate, though, right? She did. I made sure she had a meat bun before she could argue. Tucci laughs heartily. Classic you two. Well, just relax and keep reading. I'll get your favorite, fresh from the pot. From behind the counter, a familiar face appears. Ayame, Tucci's daughter, brightens the moment she sees Naruko. Naruko-chan. I've missed you. Despite not being a shinobi, Ayame somehow appears beside Naruko in a blink, clinging to her like an excited older sister. This affectionate young woman is Ichiraku Ayame, cheerful and caring. Though older than Naruko, her affection comes across more like a doting sister than anything else. Her warm tan skin, soft oak brown eyes, and neatly tied long hair give her a cheerful charm that makes her stand out even in the quiet ramen shop. Hi, Nei-chan, Naruko says with a slight smile, now quite used to Ayame's enthusiastic greetings. Ayame sighs in happiness. Ha! You're too cute. So, when are you going to agree to be my honorary little sister? When pigs fly, Nei-chan. I'll be waiting. She giggles, raising her fist in the air triumphantly. Wait, where's Sayuri? She's not with you? She's not here today, Nate-chan, Naruko replies. Training early for some reason. Ayame pauses, then shrugs. Oh well. More time for just us, then. Naruko's expression twitches ever so slightly. To outsiders, the dynamic between Naruko and the Ichiraku family might seem strange, but it's been like this for years. Even when Sayuri is present, Ayame's energy rarely bothers her. In fact, once Ayame asked Sayuri directly how she felt about it. It's not like she's mine yet anyway, was Sayuri's calm reply. Ayame wasn't sure how to take that. It was mature, but also frustrating. The two girls share a quiet rivalry, though it's kept hidden from Naruko. Ayame's feelings lean more toward the protective and sisterly type than anything romantic. Tucci returns with a bowl of steaming hot ramen. Here you go, Naruko-chan. Let me know if you want seconds, it's on the house. Thanks, Tucci-san, Naruko replies with a soft smile. Naruko snapped her book shut, and with Ayame no longer clinging to her as before, she could finally enjoy dinner at her own pace. Breaking apart a pair of wooden chopsticks from the dispenser, she dug into her warm, aromatic bowl of ramen, a dish she fondly referred to as the food of the heavens. Ramen held a special place in her heart. There was something uniquely comforting about it. The soft, springy noodles reminded her of fluffy clouds, and the savory broth, rich from hours of careful preparation, was simply irresistible. The thin slices of pork, tender and flavorful, seemed to melt the moment they touched her tongue. Each bite brought warmth, joy, and a sense of completeness. She smiled. She could definitely go for another bowl. Hey, come on in. It wasn't unusual for Naruko to visit Sayuri's home. In fact, it had become part of her daily routine. After school, they'd often head to Sayuri's place to relax, train together, or even tackle homework, though they rarely worked on the same subject. Sayuri lived in the quiet, now empty Uchiha district. While many people wondered why she chose to remain there, Naruko understood. Sayuri had her reasons, and Naruko never questioned them. Once inside, Naruko quietly removed her sandals and followed her friend further into the house. Sayuri's home, once bustling with life, now held a gentle silence. Despite everything that had changed, the furnishings remained untouched, family photos still hung on the walls, vases sat patiently in corners, and a sewing kit sat neatly where it always had. To most, it might have seemed sad, but to Sayuri, it was a way to remember. They arrived at the tatami-matted living room. As was traditional, there were no chairs, just floor cushions and the familiar scent of old wood. Sayuri seldom left her room unless she needed to train or freshen up. The large house made her feel isolated, but she refused to leave it. Yet, when Naruko was around, she seemed less lonely. Hey, must you always do that? Sayuri pouted slightly, arms folded. Do what? Naruko asked calmly, flipping through a small book she'd pulled from her pocket. Read, Sayuri answered with mild frustration. I'm right here, you know. It's polite to give a lady some attention. Naruko didn't immediately respond, which only irritated Sayuri further. Huffing softly, Sayuri approached, standing over her friend with a look of mock sternness. When that didn't work, she gently took the book from Naruko's hands and set it aside in the corner of the room. Then, with a playful plop, she sat right in front of her, gently resting in Naruko's lap. She didn't seem to mind the closeness, it was Naruko, after all. Really? Sayuri's adorable pout was all the answer Naruko needed. Looking closely, one might have noticed the slight downturn of Naruko's lips. She realized she hadn't paid much attention to Sayuri since arriving. It was also the first time she noticed how casually Sayuri was dressed, just a loose gray tank top and a pair of comfortable shorts. Her long dark hair was tied back in a ponytail, giving her a relaxed appearance. Naruko said nothing but let out a gentle sigh. All right. What do you want to do? Hug me. Without hesitation, Naruko wrapped her arms around her friend's smaller frame. It wasn't unusual for them to share moments like these, hugging, holding hands, even napping against each other's shoulders. They kept such closeness private, away from the curious eyes of classmates. Sayuri's form trembled slightly in Naruko's arms, so she simply held her tighter, providing silent comfort. Can you stay tonight? Naruko blinked once, then softly answered, sorry. I've got a few things to take care of at home. I'm really sorry. Sayuri nodded, her head resting gently against Naruko's shoulder. That's okay, she whispered. Just let me stay like this until I fall asleep. This was often how their visits ended. Sayuri would ask Naruko to stay, even though both of them knew she couldn't. Naruko wasn't oblivious, she understood how much Sayuri cared for her. And Sayuri knew Naruko cared in return. They just never said it out loud. There was no rush. One day, when the time was right, things would change. Until then, Naruko was simply there for her. Ah, I brought ramen. Silly. Sayuri gave her a gentle flick on the forehead. Ouch, Naruko frowned. That wasn't very nice. Sayuri giggled in a way that would surprise anyone who knew her. But it's kind of fun seeing you act like this. Yeah. At my expense. Sayuri poked Naruko's cheek with a smile that few ever got to see. Pulling away from the hug, she glanced around the room. So, where's the ramen? Ah, Naruko's expression turned sheepish. I ate it on the way here. Sayuri burst out laughing, dropping to her knees, clutching her stomach from the laughter. You actually did? Oh my goodness. Her laughter rang throughout the room, full of life and joy. Naruko, meanwhile, looked away, her cheeks flushed a warm red. You're unbelievable. Sayuri managed between breaths. Naruko pouted, feeling mildly embarrassed. Aw, don't get moody just because you're a little clumsy, Naru. She gently poked Naruko's other cheek. Her smile remained sweet and affectionate. I was just teasing you. Don't worry, I already ate. Tomatoes hardly count as a meal, Naruko said with a sigh. Sayuri blushed. So what? I'm full, and that's what matters, right? Naruko shrugged, unsure how to reply. Anyway, do you want to spar? Sayuri asked with a grin. It's late, but I'm still up for it. You already took a shower, didn't you? Naruko asked gently. Wouldn't you just get all sweaty again? It's fine, I'll shower again after, Sayuri waved it off. So, what do you say? Naruko tilted her head, thinking it over. No, thanks. My stomach's still feeling heavy from that ramen. Tummy, Sayuri whispered, a mischievous look in her eyes. She said tummy. She repeated to herself with a smile, trying not to giggle. One of the joys of being around Naruko is discovering her adorable quirks. Whether you've known her since childhood or just spent enough time in her company, you'll eventually witness the softer, more endearing side she rarely shows others. Despite having a reputation for being thoughtful and reserved, Naruko still uses delightfully childlike terms when talking about everyday things, like calling her stomach a tummy or referring to minor scrapes as boo-boos. Sayuri finds it absolutely charming. What makes it even more special is that she seems to be the only one who gets to see Naruko this way. In public, Naruko maintains a quiet and composed demeanor, which often makes her seem distant or hard to approach. It's not entirely fair, but Sayuri has to admit that it's a little ironic. She herself isn't the most outgoing, but at least she has a few friends. Naruko, on the other hand, doesn't really have anyone else. That's something that's always troubled Sayuri. Even when they were kids, she noticed that Naruko didn't play with the other children. Sayuri knew that Naruko had grown up without parents, but that alone shouldn't have meant growing up without friends. She remembers how some adults used to whisper and tell their kids to avoid Naruko, treating her like she was different for reasons Sayuri could never understand. It used to upset her, and to be honest, it still does. Just as Sayuri starts to drift deeper into thought, Naruko gently interrupts her. I think I want to go home. I'm sleepy, she mumbles, letting out a yawn so gentle and sweet it makes Sayuri's heart flutter. Gah! Sayuri has to clench her fists to keep herself from hugging the sleepy blonde right there. Is that so? She replies, trying to keep her tone calm. Do you want me to walk you home? No, thanks. Naruko replies, her eyes starting to droop as her body begins to sway slightly, like a child who stayed up just a little too late. On second thought. Maybe I'll stay here tonight. Another yawn slips out, already. Sleepy. Yes. Sayuri almost blurts out in excitement, but catches herself just in time. Great. Let me get a spare bed ready for you then. Needless to say, getting to sleep that night proves a bit tricky for Sayuri. 199. 200. Naruko pulled herself up on the iron bar she used for her daily workout. Her face was shiny with sweat, which trickled down her cheeks and neck, soaking through the sleeveless undershirt she usually wore beneath her t-shirt. Her arms trembled slightly from the effort, but she didn't stop. She pushed herself to do a few more repetitions, increasing the total count. Even with the strain on her muscles, Naruko kept her expression focused, not letting any discomfort show. She calmly whispered the number of each pull-up as she completed it. This was just another part of her daily training. Earlier, she had done 20 laps around her apartment building, followed by 2 sets of push-ups and sit-ups, each with 150 reps. Now, she was halfway through her session. Her private penthouse, a gift from the Hokage during her younger years, was currently filled with the scent of hard work from her ongoing exercises. A sturdy iron bar had been installed between two walls in her large living room, which she had repurposed for her pull-ups. It might seem unusual for someone her age to have a penthouse, but it hadn't always looked this nice. When the Hokage gifted her the place, much of the furniture was worn out and barely usable. Naruko took it upon herself to fix what she could, patching sofa cushions, oiling squeaky hinges, and reinforcing table legs. The place had been extremely dusty, too. But now, after some care and upgrades, the penthouse looked like it had undergone a complete renovation. Modern furniture filled the rooms, a television sat in the corner, indoor plants brought life into the space, and the large windows were now crystal clear, allowing for an excellent view of the village. Even the stairwell had been professionally repaired, thanks to handymen arranged by the Hokage. She had also cleaned the sky terrace, though the small rooftop pool remained empty for the time being. 299. 300, she exclaimed, dropping her feet to the floor. Taking a deep breath, she worked to slow her breathing. Her undershirt was completely soaked. Realizing it wasn't comfortable to wear damp clothing for too long, Naruko removed the shirt and tossed it into the laundry bin, making a mental note that she probably should have wrung it out first. She reached for a nearby towel and gently wiped the sweat from her face and neck. She rubbed her arms briefly, they were sore from the effort. She furrowed her brow slightly, wondering if she was just a little out of shape or if she needed to push herself even more. Ideally, she would continue working out for another hour, but she had an important meeting coming up. Draping the towel around her neck, she headed toward her master bedroom, where her private bathroom was located. After a refreshing shower, Naruko dressed in her regular outfit, a clean undershirt, a t-shirt, khaki shorts, her trusted ninja sandals, and her signature orange and blue jacket, which she left unzipped. She grabbed the glasses she kept on her nightstand and slipped them on before stepping out of her room. She exited her penthouse and started making her way down the stairs, which took several minutes due to being on the top floor. The building was large, but strangely, she was the only resident left. While she didn't like to think her presence was the reason others had moved out, it remained the most likely explanation. In a way, she now had the entire building to herself. Outside, the morning sun bathed the village in warm light. Usually, weekends were quieter in Konoha, but today was an exception. There was a gentle buzz in the air. From her view, she could see shopkeepers preparing to open their stores, workers heading to their jobs, and young ninja gearing up for a new day. The summer breeze brushed against her skin, cooling her down pleasantly. Konoha was split into four main sectors: north, south, east, and west. Naruko lived in the north, the area known for its bustling markets and shopping districts. It was also where the Ninja Academy was located, right at the base of Hokage Mountain, making it a central part of the community. The southern region of the village is where most of the shinobi clans have established their compounds. Because of this, Naruko believes they would serve well as the village's first line of defense in case of any danger. This area also happens to have the second largest population of ninja, just behind the western region. Naruko once lived in a modest apartment in the south, but after she was relocated, the Hokage arranged for her to live in a new place in the north. The eastern district, by contrast, is filled with factories and smaller, less maintained neighborhoods, making it the only part of Konoha where suspicious activity tends to surface. Konoha's shinobi forces, while not vast in number, are known for their excellence, unlike other villages such as Kumo and Iwa, which prioritize numbers. Naruko once read in a book that Konoha values quality over quantity, and the phrase stayed with her. Today, Naruko doesn't bring a book with her. She's only planning a short trip before heading back home. Her destination is the Hokage's office for a scheduled meeting. Please take a seat, Naruko-chan. The wise Sarutobi Hiruzen smiles gently as he gestures to the empty chair across from his desk. Naruko quietly accepts the offer, sitting down without saying a word. Hiruzen is always pleased to see her. She may not be the most talkative child, but she listens intently and asks thoughtful questions, two traits that surely contribute to her strong performance in her studies. One of Naruko's lesser-known strengths is her calm composure. Compared to other children her age, she's much more reserved and thoughtful. Some might even call her an introvert. Would you like some sweets, Naruko? He offers, holding out a bowl filled with colorful, wrapped candies, his usual refreshment for young guests. As expected, Naruko politely declines. No, thank you, Hokage-sama. I don't want to get another toothache. Ah. Hiruzen's expression shifts as a memory comes to him. Was your last dentist visit that difficult, Naruko? He asks, a touch of amusement in his tone. Naruko frowns slightly and looks down for a moment. It wasn't fun, Hokage-sama. Understandable, Hiruzen nods with a small chuckle. Especially since you were only 5 at the time. Ji-chan. Hiruzen laughs gently, wiping a joyful tear from the corner of his eye. Alright, I'll stop teasing. I imagine you're wondering why I called you here. It's not so much a question as a soft transition into the main purpose of the meeting. You're not in trouble, Naruko-chan. I simply wanted to ask how you've been doing lately. Naruko visibly relaxes, though her shoulders give a subtle shrug. I'm doing fine. Nothing important to report, Hokage-sama. Her eyes glimmer thoughtfully. But I've finished all the books I borrowed for the month. If Naruko was feeling down, this was likely the most she would express it. Her love for reading is well known. Oh? Hiruzen raises a brow in genuine surprise. It's rare to see Naruko without a book in her hands, and even more unusual to hear her mention running out of material. As someone who frequently visits her residence, a surprisingly spacious apartment that still makes Hiruzen question the decision to give such a place to a young girl, he's fully aware of her impressive book collection. Calling her a book lover would be an understatement. Naruko's fondness for reading is rivaled only by her love of ramen. Well, almost. Don't the bookshops have anything new? He asks. Naruko shakes her head. Not yet. They're expecting new shipments in about 2 weeks. I'm a little embarrassed, but I really don't want to wait that long. She attempts an embarrassed look, though her face remains mostly neutral. Hiruzen nods in understanding. So, in other words. He leans back, stretching slightly. You're feeling a bit bored, Naruko-chan. Yes, I am. Hiruzen watches her for a moment, his mind turning. There's not much he can do. He certainly can't lend her any of the books from his personal library, which are intended for much older readers. And as bright as Naruko is, brilliant, even, there's little he can offer to improve her studies further. She excels in both her academic work and practical skills. Then a thought occurs to him. Something simple, yet potentially helpful. Wait here a moment, Naruko-chan. I think I might have a little gift for you. And perhaps with this, you'll forgive me for not doing more sooner, he thinks quietly. Naruko tilts her head, curious. But it's not my birthday, she says, her glasses catching the light. It isn't, but consider it a gift from this old man, Naruko-chan. The Hokage still senses the lingering doubt in the young girl's expression. Trust me, it will surely benefit you in your journey as a shinobi. That immediately captures Naruko's full attention, just as he expected. But what I'm about to give you must remain a secret. If anyone asks, you cannot reveal that I gave it to you personally. Do you understand, Naruko-chan? Yes. Good. The old man smiles gently, then reaches into a drawer beneath his desk. He pulls out something large, cylindrical, and wrapped in paper. When Naruko lays eyes on it, she immediately understands why the Hokage is being so discreet. It's a scroll, almost as tall as she is, sealed carefully to prevent unauthorized access. This scroll contains 4 unique jutsu. The Hokage's voice is calm, yet carries importance. I want you to study these techniques and, if possible, master them. Naruko is so mesmerized by the scroll that she fails to notice the slightly solemn expression on the Hokage's face. If I didn't believe you could learn them, Naruko-chan, I would not be giving you this opportunity. But I believe in you. I know you'll handle this just like you've handled everything else, with determination and heart. The phrase just like everything else gives Naruko the subtle hint that these aren't ordinary techniques. Her eyes widen slightly. This scroll may have a deeper connection, maybe even something personal to the Hokage himself. Take it, my dear, and use it wisely, the Hokage says with warmth, as if passing down a great honor. And may you grow to become someone the entire village will admire. Naruko takes the scroll in her hands. Her arms are strong from her training, yet for a moment, the weight of responsibility makes it feel heavier than it is. She gazes at the scroll, then lifts her eyes back to the Hokage with renewed purpose. I'll do my best, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen smiles proudly and gives a firm nod. Uchiha Sayuri gently closes the door behind her. The warm summer breeze brushes against her arms, sending a slight chill down her spine. She takes a few deep breaths, trying to ground herself in the moment. Outside her home lies the street where difficult memories are tied. Every time her gaze lingers there too long, unsettling memories rise to the surface, unwanted reminders that disrupt her calm. She doesn't like these moments, especially the sense of helplessness they bring. People speak of what happened to her clan as a tragedy, an event steeped in sorrow. But to Sayuri, it isn't so simple. She believes that what happened had intention behind it, one that still troubles her to this day. The brother she once looked up to feels like a distant shadow now, changed in ways she can't understand. The pain she carries is not just from what happened, but from not being able to stop it. She shivers slightly. Her feet haven't moved, and she realizes she's still standing in place. This is something that happens often, and it affects her day-to-day life more than people realize. The more she tries to push the memories away, the more persistent they become. Her knees give out, and she slowly lowers herself to the ground. The air feels thick, her breath shallow. She wraps her arms around herself, overwhelmed by the emotions stirring inside. HNNN. Ha. Her voice comes out shaky and quiet. She wants to speak, but the words won't come. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? The thought loops endlessly, echoing through her mind, blending into a whirl of confusion and distress. But even in these moments, deep down, she holds on to hope, that somehow, through time, effort, and the support of others, she'll find a way to heal. Is this even real life anymore? Who cares? I'm scared. Someone. Anyone. Sayuri? The voice echoes and then fades. Sayuri's head snaps up, her teary eyes drawn toward the voice. Sayuri. What happened? There's warmth and worry in her voice. Naruko rushes toward her, a large scroll strapped to her back. Are you okay? Her gentle, sincere concern soothes Sayuri more than she realizes. She hadn't noticed the tears streaming down her face until now, overwhelmed and stunned into silence. What happened? Naruko asks again, now kneeling and holding her shoulders, trying to comfort her through voice and presence rather than visible emotion. Did you trip or hurt yourself? Instead of responding, Sayuri throws herself into Naruko's arms, surprising her completely. They fall to the ground, Naruko startled but not resisting. All questions vanish the moment she hears Sayuri sobbing into her shoulder, clinging tightly. Naruko understands. She's seen this before, Sayuri suddenly overwhelmed by memories and emotions tied to the past. She doesn't need to ask. Naruko knows Sayuri rarely cries, but moments like this still happen, especially in quiet mornings like today. Whether she's there to witness it or not often depends on chance. With practiced care, Naruko rubs Sayuri's back gently, letting her fingers comb through her long dark hair. She leans close and whispers calm, kind words to help her settle. Gradually, Sayuri's sobs soften, turning into small hiccups and quiet sniffles. She stays in Naruko's embrace, still holding on tightly as if afraid to let go. Naruko slowly helps her to her feet, guiding her gently out of the compound. Once outside, she leads Sayuri to the Uchiha clan's outer wall and lets her sit down to rest against it. Naruko crouches before her, one hand gently rubbing Sayuri's shoulder in a comforting gesture. She watches quietly as Sayuri shivers, eyes red from crying. You should think about moving out of here, Naruko finally says, her tone soft but serious. Yes. Sayuri knows. Naruko owns her own apartment complex, a fact she rarely shares with anyone. Sayuri is one of the few people who knows, having heard it directly from her. The penthouse is spacious and refined, almost making the Uchiha estate feel small by comparison. Despite having visited before, the experience feels new again. Maybe it's the situation, or maybe it's just Naruko. Sayuri slips off her sandals, carrying her small travel bag filled with her clothes and essentials. She gazes at the large windows that showcase a view only visible from the inside, and the elegant spiral staircase that leads to the rooftop garden. It's a beautiful place, and Naruko walks through it naturally, it's hers, after all. What are you waiting for? Naruko nudges her lightly with a smile. Come in. You're staying here now. Sayuri gulps, nerves fluttering. She brushes them off and takes a step forward, placing her bag on one of the couches. Naruko places her scroll on the other couch. What's that? Sayuri asks curiously. It's rare to see someone carry a scroll that large unless they're studying something important. She doubts Naruko just reads scrolls for fun. Naruko pauses, clearly debating whether to answer. It's a gift from Hokage-sama. Sayuri blinks in surprise. A gift? It's not your birthday. True, Naruko nods. But the Hokage said she felt like giving me something. Maybe it has to do with her age. Sayuri opens her mouth slightly in amusement. Did you just call the Hokage old? Naruko shrugs, tone calm. She is older, Sayuri. I don't see the issue. Sayuri giggles, finding her friend's straightforwardness both funny and charming. So, what's in the scroll? Naruko readjusts her glasses, removes her jacket, and tosses it onto the couch before sitting down. She preferred that I keep it between us. I'm sorry, Sayuri, it's a private matter. Sayuri walks over and sits next to her with a small, understanding sigh. It's okay. I'm not upset. Still, she frowns a little. Sometimes it's hard for her to say exactly what she feels. All right then, Naruko replies, offering a soft smile. Now she's feeling a bit annoyed that Naruko is brushing things off so casually. Why does their relationship always feel both effortless and complicated at the same time? Probably because neither of them is great at taking the first step towards something more meaningful. I've got cookies in a jar in the kitchen. If you want some, go ahead, but please don't eat more than half. I need them for snack time later, Naruko says, briefly glancing up from the scroll she's studying. Her gaze narrows slightly as she speaks. Sayuri giggles, reaching out to ruffle Naruko's hair affectionately. Yeah, I won't finish the whole jar. She stands and heads into the kitchen, retrieving the jar Naruko had mentioned. This one, right? Yep. Chocolate chip, Naruko confirms. Sweet. Just how I like it. While Sayuri enjoys the cookies, Naruko is absorbed in the scroll's contents. The scroll begins with a note from the author, advising that the techniques listed must be practiced responsibly. The writer emphasizes that the skills described should not be misused, and that any consequences resulting from poor execution are the sole responsibility of the practitioner. It's a long disclaimer, nearly 300 words, but once it transitions into the techniques, it becomes fascinating. There are 4 jutsu listed: Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Kaden, Madan, Suten, Tsunami, and Raiden. Naruko hasn't come across any of them in the Academy's archives, not even in the advanced section, which explains why the Hokage implied they were uncommon. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu is described first. It's similar to the standard clone technique but creates solid, tangible clones rather than illusions. It's classified as a B-rank technique. Naruko is surprised, but then understands, it requires a significant amount of chakra. Luckily for her, chakra isn't something she lacks. The instructions include a rare cross-hand seal and the need to channel as much chakra as possible to increase the number of clones. This actually encourages Naruko, whose chakra control has always been a challenge. With this technique, her abundance of energy becomes an advantage. Next is Kaden, Madan, a fire-style technique. Sayuri would probably enjoy this one more than Naruko, who prefers practical and less dramatic approaches. This jutsu summons energy wards in the air that launch flame projectiles, fast like speeding arrows. It's labeled A rank and uses a considerable amount of chakra. It's designed to create an immediate advantage in battle by applying pressure quickly, making it a powerful support-style technique. Suten, Tsunami follows, a water-style technique that produces a sweeping surge of water as a wide-range attack. Though still an A-rank jutsu, it's less taxing than Kaden, Madan. It does require strong mastery over the water element, but for someone like Naruko, who enjoys keeping distance from opponents, its potential is undeniable. Still, using it effectively would mean getting closer to a group of opponents, something she would need to plan around. The last one is Raiden. This lightning-style technique summons a sword made of electricity. Depending on the user's skill, it can be wielded like a regular sword or even transformed into a polearm. Naruko is especially interested in this one. It not only offers the possibility of close-range combat but also hints at potential ranged capabilities. The lightning element adds a layer of unpredictability, which could be strategically useful. The scroll even mentions that with the right application, it could surprise and outmaneuver opponents. She quietly notes that the puns in the description were likely unintentional. She reads through the rest of the scroll, skipping the lengthy closing remarks. No name? She murmurs. Oddly, the author left no signature or identification. Shrugging, Naruko starts memorizing the hand seals required for each jutsu. It only takes her about 20 minutes of concentrated reading. Once she's done, she rolls the scroll back up and sets it aside. She glances toward Sayuri. The scroll falls from her hands and rolls across the room. If she were more expressive, her jaw might have dropped, eyes wide in disbelief. But in her calm demeanor, only her glasses slide down slightly on her nose. Sayuri is still happily snacking, licking the chocolate from her fingertips. Cookie crumbs cling to her cheeks and the couch cushions. Noticing Naruko's stare, she looks up. What? She asks. Naruko opens her mouth, then closes it again, wordlessly pointing at the now empty cookie jar. Oh. Ooh. Sayuri blinks at the jar, then back at Naruko. Sorry. Naruko sighs and shakes her head, her expression flat. No worries. Cookies are hard to resist. I get it. She pushes her glasses back up with her knuckle. Anyway, now that you're all fueled up, wanna train with me for a bit? We can head up to the Sky Terrace. Since the pool is empty, Naruko is using it as a place where she can practice her ninjutsu. Because ninjutsu is not her strongest skill, she also uses it as a sparring area with her clones. Now that she has mastered the cage bunshine technique, she plans to spar with a real solid clone. But since Sayuri is here, why not let her spar with Naruko instead? And no, Naruko is not inviting her just because she's feeling annoyed. 4 days later. Naruko stands at one end of the wide, empty swimming pool, dressed in shorts and a sleeveless top, stretching her arms and legs. Sayuri mirrors her movements nearby. She has a chokudo sword strapped to the cloth tied around her waist, securing the sheath. Her hair is tied back in a ponytail, clearly ready for sparring. Naruko has removed her glasses, knowing they might get damaged during the match. Say, we haven't been training because I ate all your cookies 4 days ago, right? Sayuri asks, stretching. No, Naruko replies calmly, as if she expected the question. This isn't personal. It's just for practice. Sayuri shrugs and quickly finishes stretching. Since moving into Naruko's apartment a few days ago, her life has gradually changed in ways that some might misunderstand. Sharing the same space means they spend more time together than when Sayuri lived in her family's house. Walking home together is normal, but now living under the same roof is starting to spark gossip at the academy. Rumors about them being close friends or more have spread quickly, even among the instructors. Still, no one intervenes since it's none of their business. They have grown accustomed to whispers behind their backs. Sayuri learned the gossip started with a talkative classmate from the Yamanaka family, who loves to spread stories. Honestly, it's silly, and if anyone thinks Sayuri is upset, they're wrong. She doesn't care, and she knows Naruko feels the same way. She just hopes people won't treat them like something unusual. Still, she isn't good at hiding her feelings from Naruko, so it's no surprise Naruko knows she's been thinking about all this. Sayuri guesses the reason Naruko suggested sparring today is to help distract her from the rumors. Nice. Ready? Naruko asks, holding a kunai. Sayuri replies, drawing her blade. They blur into motion, swift and precise, two of the best in their class, evenly matched in speed, agility, reflexes, and strength. Each has a unique style. Naruko moves like a wolf, low, patient, and strategic. She strikes and defends with careful timing, avoiding unnecessary risk. She's memorized much of Sayuri's attack patterns. Sayuri is like an eagle, watchful and opportunistic, striking when the chance is right. While her sword skills aren't the very best, she's skilled enough to keep Naruko on her toes. Their spar is a graceful dance of clashing blades, twisting bodies, and intense focus. Their eyes never leave each other's faces, knowing that losing sight for even a moment could mean losing the match. Naruko leaps back smoothly and regains her balance. She quickly pulls out a kunai and throws it toward Sayuri. But Sayuri is ready, deflecting it with the flat side of her blade. Her eyes narrow, fixed on Naruko. She raises her chokudo high, preparing to strike. Naruko stays calm, controlling her breathing, muscles, and chakra to keep pace with Sayuri's swift movements. She summons another kunai, holding it in a reverse grip, ready to block any attack. Her stance is steady, eyes locked on the tip of Sayuri's sword as it gleams in the late afternoon sun. They hold a tense silence, the air thick with anticipation. Naruko's normally bright blue eyes soften with focus. Suddenly, with her free hand, Naruko gently but firmly grips Sayuri's wrists, stopping her sword from descending. At the same time, her kunai lightly touches Sayuri's shoulder, signaling her control. The pool is nearly 2 meters long, making it impossible to close that distance quickly without notice. I win, Naruko states calmly. Sayuri blinks, surprised. How? When? Naruko withdraws the kunai and releases Sayuri's wrists, stepping back. I didn't expect you to be so surprised. You didn't? Sayuri's voice is quiet, confused. I didn't even understand what happened. It felt like you disappeared and suddenly reappeared right in front of me with the kunai. Naruko puts her kunai back in its sheath. What happened, Naruko? Sayuri asks, still puzzled. Nothing special, Naruko shrugs. Just shows what a basic academy technique can do. Sayuri waits for more explanation. Remember when I threw that kunai at you? Naruko asks, holding up the weapon. Sayuri nods. There was another purpose behind that throw. Naruko points to a small chip at the edge of the kunai blade. Sayuri examines it. It's probably from when it struck her sword during the deflection. Standard issue kunais are primarily made from steel, combined with certain chakra-sensitive minerals that, while effective, tend to be fragile. This combination reduces durability and raises costs, so the weapons department no longer employs this method. Instead, they now use a specialized alloy, which is then cast into ingots and hand-forged into the kunais we recognize and rely on today. There's a reason why I tossed this kunai toward you. It's not to strike you directly but to leave something on you. Naruko's expression grew more curious. She stepped forward, gently placing a hand on Sayuri's shoulder. This is a tiny fragment chipped off the kunai when it made contact with your sword, she explained, showing the minute piece between her fingers. Though something like this might seem insignificant in the midst of a battle, to me, it's an advantage that could tip the scales. Sayuri glanced at the kunai, then back at the fragment. If my observations are correct, another fragment landed on your cheek, Naruko continued. The natural moisture from sweat made it adhere without your noticing. I used a substitution technique to replace myself with that tiny piece, which ultimately led to your defeat. She spun the chipped fragment on her fingertip, tilting her head thoughtfully. Any questions? Sayuri opened her mouth to speak, but then thought better of it. Good. I'm quite hungry. Let's head to Ichiraku's. If sharing Naruko's cookies is what it takes to see her fight with such spirit, then Sayuri is willing to try her ramen and find out what happens next. On second thought, it might not be the best idea. Naruko might get a little upset. But a slightly annoyed Naruko is kind of endearing too. Dear YouTube family. That's all for now. If you enjoyed the content, please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for being part of this journey. Warm regards. Six Path Weeb.